Welcome. My name's Chris, and I'm really happy to welcome you here to the local today. We're here in our community kitchen where we prepare all our meals weekly for delivery, and we host lots of community events and community cooking classes as well. So if you ever get the chance and you want to learn more than what we're going to be working on in this few sessions, there's further opportunities to come back here to the local and learn with us in person. So we look forward to that as well. Today we're going to be focusing on kitchen safety, especially some knife skills and some handling of a few products that we want to keep separate and keep aware of when we're working in the kitchen. The main dishes we're going to be working on today is we're going to be doing a chicken leg dinner with roasted fall vegetables, and we're going to do it as a one-pan meal, so it's really simple. While we have that going, I'm just going to whip up a quick salad that's just some grated carrots and some tomatoes and some sunflower seeds. I'm going to show you how we can make a little quick salad that's going to use some of the knife skills we're working on today and just give us another vegetable in our meal that's adding some flavor and some nutrients. So today I want to start by just showing you my setup. You know, being prepared in the kitchen is so critical to success. So I've got a few key things with me today that pertain to safety. First of all, I've got my handy sanitizer. In your own kitchen, if you just have a little bowl with some soapy water in it and a cloth, or you can, if you have one of these, and you can put just a little bit of bleach or soap and water, then you always have it handy for if you spill something and you just need to do a quick cleanup. So we always want to work clean. That's the key part of working safe. Taking our time, not worrying about things, just having fun with it and being mindful of what's going on so we don't make mistakes. So I've got my sanitizer, I've got my cutting board, I've got my knife, very important. And then I've got two sharpening devices, because another really important thing about safety is working with a sharp knife. Now you might think, oh, if my knife's really sharp, I'm more apt to cut myself. Actually, it's the other way around. If you have a dull knife, it's more likely that when you're cutting something, it's gonna slip, and that's when you're gonna cut yourself. So, and as we say in kitchens too, if you cut yourself with a sharp knife, it's like surgical steel, it's gonna heal faster as well. So although we never want to cut ourselves, the best way to prevent that is actually working with proper equipment. So the key thing here today is our knife, and I've got this really basic sharpener. You can get these all over the place, varying degrees, and I've got what's called a honer. So these are actually two different items. With my sharpener, I'm just going to do a quick little on the different ones. Some just have one, some have two. This one has three. And you can get all sorts of sharpeners. We have an electrical one in the back. And this is a knife I've had for years. But every time I take it out, I just give it a little go over. I'm going to wipe this, just get any grit off. And then I'm going to bring my honer in. Now to keep it simple, you've probably seen chefs do this whole, I can't even do it. But you know, just to keep it simple, you can just go along and you're just trying to get an angle that follows the blade and gently go along. Now the difference between honing and sharpening, when I'm sharpening, I'm actually taking a little bit of the steel off. When I'm honing, I'm just shaping the steel back into place to make the edge sharp. So I've got my cleaner, I've got my sharp knife, I've got some handy towels, and I've got all the equipment that I need for today's meal. And I've laid that out today with the recipe, with the equipment, and with the food that we're going to be preparing. Now I'm going to start to cook. So today we're going to be doing some really nice autumn roasted vegetables. I've got a little tiny rutabaga, I've got some potato, I've got some beets, and then I've got these multicolored carrots. So we just happen to have these in right now. You don't have to use multicolored carrots, but they're really fun. They've got some beautiful colors, and they're just going to make things more interesting and more exciting for us. And then I've got over here, I've got some chicken. Now I just pulled this out of the freezer. I'm going to show you two ways today that we can defrost chicken safely. We have to be careful when we're handling meats, that we don't touch other things, that we I forgot. You know what I forgot? I forgot the most important thing before I start. Did I wash my hands? You know, health and safety, I mentioned cleanliness, keeping my surface clean. I want to make sure my hands are clean, and I'm going to keep doing it throughout, especially when I'm handling this chicken. So I've got two pieces here. I've got one I pulled out last night and I put in the fridge. And I've got one that's rock hard that I just pulled out of the freezer like right now. So there's two ways that I can tackle this. There's actually a third as well. You can use your microwave. But generally in the kitchen, this is the preferred method. It is safer. And the reason being that when you put something in the microwave, some parts might cook, some parts might still be a little frozen. If I take it out the night before and I put it in the fridge, it should defrost pretty well. So I've separated them and I can feel that, yep, this is still slightly firm, but not really. I can move it around. It's gonna be fine for us. And then this one that's really hard, I put this in a bucket. I'm gonna take this back over to my sink and I'm just gonna run it in the bag with some cold water over this. And this allows it to defrost at a really quick rate so that if I've just gotten home from work or whatever, picking up the kids, I can just put this in the sink and I can defrost it while I'm getting some other things ready. And it will keep it that it's still cool and that the meat is still raw. It's not cooked in any part like the microwave would do, but it's still gonna get it done nice and fast. So I'm just gonna put that over in the sink. And I'm just making sure it's just a little bit of cold water and I just let that kind of just drip. So that's just gonna slowly go in the sink and it's just gonna defrost. So now with this guy, I'm actually gonna put my cutting board away for a second. We'll get back to that. So I'm gonna take the chicken. I'm gonna open it up out of the bag. So I got my pieces there. Put this in my little garbage. And then I'm gonna take some paper towel. Got my paper towel. I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna get the excess moisture all around, coming in on the back. And that's it. And I'm gonna throw that out. And then I'm gonna come in with these seasonings here. So I've just got some salt and some pepper, and then I've got some chili powder. This is a Mexican chili powder. It's fairly mild. It has a little cumin in it, so it just will bring a little more interesting flavor. But I wanna keep things really simple, so I'm just gonna do some salt. And notice that the hand that I'm touching the chicken in is the same hand every time. So I've got the salt, I'm sprinkling the salt. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna do the pepper. And I've got one hand for seasoning. Let's get a little on the bottom here too. One hand for seasoning and one hand for handling the meat. And then I'm going in with this chili powder and same idea. I'm just seasoning, seasoning, seasoning. And that's it. So I'm gonna leave this aside. By seasoning it in advance, I'm just gonna let the flavors get into the chicken a little bit. But if you're in a rush, you can just do it right before you pop it in the oven as well. Just I have some time, so I'm gonna get it out of the way first. So I'm going over to the fridge, and then when I see you back here, I'm gonna have my hands washed and we're gonna get on with these vegetables. All right, so I washed my hands, chicken's back in the fridge, and now I'm ready to cut up my vegetables. So one thing I wanna point out, underneath my cutting board here, I put a towel. We also have these slip mats. Oh, doesn't matter. So I just have a slightly damp towel. This is a really key trick in the kitchen for safety. By putting this here, I'm just gonna have a little more grip on here. I'm actually gonna flatten this out slightly more. And this is just gonna help things not slip around. So when I'm cutting up my vegetables, I don't cut myself. That's the goal. All right, so I'm gonna get this out of the way. And we're gonna actually start with these carrots. And we're just gonna start with peeling. And I'm I want to show you that often what I do to improve safety with my tools is I use my cutting board as a surface when I'm peeling things, and it helps. I can go a lot faster this way. I can keep my fingers here away from the peeler. You see the color on this? This is amazing. So Jen and I last week went to the market together in Elmira. It was so much fun. I help her with the market that we have here on Fridays and a few other projects. But a lot of our food comes from the area around here, including these carrots. So that's why I really wanted to show them off. So once again, I'm using the cutting board. It's like another hand that I can use. And then I always also have like a garbage bin with me too, or a little compost bin, so that I have that handy and I'm not making a mess of things. So one thing I wanted to show you here, as far as this carrot salad, we'll actually kind of get a little bit of that out of the way first. So this is our box grater, and I'm gonna use this for processing part of the carrots that we're then gonna roast the other end. But you know, I wanna make things save time and get a bunch of things done at once. So I'm just gonna use the ends of the carrots for this. And you see here, I'm going upside down for starters, so I want it the right way up. I'm going on an angle against here, and this gives me the downward motion. I can put a lot more kind of weight of my hand into it, and I get longer strips. So this is going to be nice for a salad. We'll use the other part of this for our roasted vegetables, and coming in here, beautiful colors. Great. So I'm going to add this to here, and I'm just going to put it aside. And then this is going to become a salad for us in a little bit. You know what? I'm going to add an orange one in there too, really quickly. Once again, I'm grating. I'm using this nice angle. So if I just came sideways, you see how it's like, I'm not really getting much and it's harder and the carrot goes back and forth. Having the right angle on this is another important part of safety. I'm keeping my fingers away. And I'm able to get that nice kind of weight that it happens easily. It just goes through. All right. Clean my board here. So, for these root vegetables, I'm not too worried about, I want you to have fun with the different sizes. So we're gonna cut these in kind of a rustic chunk. So I'm trying to achieve everything kind of in a same size or similar size, but I'm not too worried at the end of the day. I kind of actually want these fun shapes and sizes. It's fun to cut up. So that's kind of a rustic chunk cut. But I can also just as easily cut this into what's called a dice. So I'm going into the carrot, being nice and careful there. So I can do this as square, and then this would be called a big dice. So if you want to kind of do that rustic cut, or if you want to do more of a square cut, all the vegetables will end up being similar but different. So it doesn't really matter. It's up to you. What is helpful though, when thinking about knife safety, is also working by cutting things down. When I get to the turnip, I'll show you even more. But see, instead of cutting this whole carrot lengthwise, I'm just going to cut it in half first, and then I can cut it this way. And I have less things kind of rolling around and rocking around. If things are rolling and rocking on me, that's just more chances for something to slip and me to get cut. And that's what we don't want. Also notice here that I'm keeping my fingers curled inside with my opposite hand. Now I'm left-handed, so that would be your left hand you curl, your knife in your right hand if you're right-handed, but for me it's the other way around. And I do that so that I can create a barrier here that my knife is able to rub up against my knuckle, and I'm not actually going to cut my fingertips. It's really hard for me to do that when I've got that protection here. So it takes a little while to think about it if you're not used to it. Go slow, take your time, and just try using your knuckles as a little barrier there for your knife, or a little spot that your knife can rub up against. All right, so now I'm going to grab our rutabaga and I'm going to start peeling. Now I've got this in my hand. If you find it easier to leave it on the board, you can totally do that. I got bigger hands, so it's whatever you're comfortable with is what's important. But notice here, once again, with this, I've got my fingers away. I'm also using this, like I'm peeling this, and I've got my thumb in here that I'm bracing this, and I'm able to get a nice strong peel that way. So I'm going to peel this up. And I remember when I went to chef school years and years ago. So I'm a trained chef. I think Jen mentioned that last week in her introduction. So years ago when I went to chef school, this was a really important class. This was like class 1 or class 2. We're doing this class 2. And I think we made kind of something similar. We did a vegetable soup where we were cutting down everything into little guys. And this is how you learn. So this whole turnip, oh, it's really wobbly. I want to be careful. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to make one cut using this edge here. So I've got one cut. There we go. And I'm just going to cut this part off. So I want this flat surface. So the majority of my cuts are on a flat surface. I could also do that way and it's stable. Or I've got this way. You might have to put your hand on top. These are nice and solid rutabagas. Just going to cut this end off. And then once again, I'm doing kind of a rustic cut with this. Similar size as the carrots, but I'm not too concerned. As long as they're we want stuff that's bite size. So it can be a little bigger than bite size at this stage because they will cook down. But we want all the vegetables around the same size because then they'll cook evenly. Same idea with this guy. Just going to even this up. I've got a nice surface. You can see I'm holding it at the back here, fingers curled. Rustic cuts. And I'm really using my blade. See, I push in and I use the curve of the blade to not chop, but to slice my vegetables. All right, and then we'll cut up this potato here. So this is a pretty big red potato. I'm not too, I normally don't peel these. You can if there's like a little spot. I've got a little spot here, so I'm just gonna actually slice that off. It's a little bruise. But I like these potatoes with the skin on, so I'm just gonna cut it a few slices. And keep it really simple and rustic cut. And once again, I'm just trying to get relatively same size. If I go back in and I see something's really big, I might be like, okay, I can cut that down a little bit. Cut it in half. And I love doing it this time of year, roasted vegetables, so comforting. And on a cooler day, just throw a pan in like this. It's just gonna make the kitchen smell so warm and comforting. So I've got my beets here, carrots, beets, rutabaga, yep, potato, and peeling, peeling, peeling. Once again, I got my thumb on the bottom, so I'm pulling the peeler towards my thumb, and I've got my fingers curled. See how I've got them curled right around that beet? So I'm really keeping my fingers, the tips of my fingers, away from the blade, and I'm using my hands like a cup. And then once again, on the flat surface, I'm going to cut it in half. And this time, I'm just going to cut some wedges. So you can see when I cut the wedges, each time I flip the beet back onto its side, so I have a nice surface. I'm cutting down kind of towards myself, but I'm cutting away from myself too. So like I'm cutting down. So this way I'm always cutting away from my fingers. So I feel like that's pretty good. Now I'm going to season this up. So I've got some fresh thyme here that we picked up at the market. I'm just going to take a couple sprigs of this. So you can use fresh or you can use dried. Just happened that I had fresh today, so I'm using the fresh. And I'm just going to put in a few whole sprigs. So if the stem I can pull out at the end, and the leaves as it's cooking, they'll come off and they'll just give that some nice herbaceous and savory kind of flavors and thyme. Really nice for these kind of roasted vegetables. I've got some garlic. I had a garlic here. I'm going to take a clove. You know what? Let me show you a trick. I'm going to take this whole head and come in from the back. I'm going to use my weight and press out the cloves like that. Wow, wasn't that much faster? And then I'm going to take one clove with my knife. You could also use a pan for this. Actually, let me show you the pan method, because I got one right here. I'm going to take a clove of garlic. I'm just going to smash that. There we go. And see, the skin came off just easy peasy. Almost too easy this time. But that whole garlic, that's what I want. I don't need to chop that further. I'm just going to throw this in. As that's roasting, it's going to break down, it's going to flavor everything. But throwing in a whole kind of smashed clove of garlic, if I chopped it up into really small pieces with these big chunks of vegetables, by the time the vegetables were cooked, the garlic would just be burned. So by leaving it whole, I'm going to get all the flavor without burning my garlic. So once again, I'm going to smash that. Fun. And I'm just going to throw that in there. And I'm going to take a second. I'm going to flip my board so it's clean. I'm going to put my pan away. I'm going to take my towel. All right. So now I'm going to take some salt. And I'm going to take some pepper. I'm going to season that up. And I'm going to drizzle this with olive oil. And I'm going to mix this up. Now I've got a baking sheet over here. And I'm going to take my oily fingers. I'm going to put a little more oil on. Just where the chicken goes, I'm going to put some oil. And on this side, I'm going to throw my vegetables down. All mixed up. Just want to lay them out so that they're all at the same level. They're all going to get the same amount of heat. Just going to move that sprig of thyme around. Look at all those colors. Isn't that beautiful? All right, so I'm going to go back to the fridge. got my chicken that we've kept in the fridge. And now I'm just going to place it next to the chicken, to the vegetables, sorry. Placing it next to the vegetables. So this way I've got a meal. If I was cooking for 4, I could, actually I would say this is probably like, depending if you're cooking kind of 2 adults and 2 kids, this is probably with a salad or something else. Good meal. If you want to add another chicken leg, that's great. If you want to big up the vegetables, if you want to do it on 2 pans, you're totally welcome to do that with more veggies. But this is a nice kind of, you know, if I was cooking for 3 people, this would be a nice quick meal that I can get done really quickly. Now, the great thing about freezers and chickens is that if I see like a deal, something on sale at the grocery store, sometimes they have those bulk packs of chicken legs. I can buy a whole bunch and I can lay them out and I can put them in the freezer and I can just pull out what I need. So, and that's an opportunity where using that sink method that I showed you earlier, I can just pull out a few, put them in a bag, defrost them, or if I know the night before I'm going to want to make chicken tomorrow, I can just pull out what I need. Of course, if you've got fresh chicken, don't worry about that. But in this case, we're showing you we're going to be using the frozen chicken, and I think it's a really great opportunity to remember that, yeah, if you can buy things in bulk, you can save a little money. It's an opportunity that you might be able to afford more meat in your cooking than you would otherwise. So, all right. So now I'm going to put this in the oven. I do have my oven heated to 375. So I started that before I did anything else in my prep, and I should have mentioned that, but it's on our list of things to do with the recipe, so you'll want to do that too. And it's important to preheat the oven. That way, when these go in, they're going into a hot oven. They're not sitting for any period of time with an opportunity to go bad, although in a few minutes they won't go bad. But it also helps too in the cooking process to go into a hot oven, and then we're going to get color on the chicken a lot faster, and it's just going to cook faster. So I'm going back over to my oven. And there we go. So I've got it heated, 375, in the oven, center rack. And now I'm going to take a moment, clean my hands, and we'll be back. All right, so I've got my chicken in. I've got it in the preheated oven. I've taken a moment. I've cleaned up. I've cleaned my hands. And now I'm going to make that little salad we talked about. So I'm going to go back. I've got these carrots that we grated before. Just going to put them in here. I'm going to take some grape tomatoes. This is a really simple salad, and it's actually incredibly delicious. Years ago, I had the opportunity to cook in Italy, in the north. It was really fun, and I was at a school there. And we'd actually eat like a lot of salads that weren't just like lettuce. Like a salad doesn't have to be just lettuce. It can be all sorts of things. So I'm adding some cherry tomatoes. I'm just cutting them in half. Being careful, and see how using a sharp knife, I'm not fighting those tomatoes. Often in the kitchen, this is something we fight against with a knife quite a bit. Another trick actually with tomatoes is to use a serrated knife. We'll get through quite easily. So I'm going to take a couple more of these. And then I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil. And some salt. Really important with this, the salt, because it's going to bring out that sweetness. A little bit of pepper. And a little bit of balsamic vinegar. And I think we've given you a bottle this week of balsamic vinegar, very versatile ingredient. We gave you some olive oil last week. And in a few weeks, I'm going to show you how to make your own dressing. But we'll get to that. In this case, just a little olive oil and vinegar. It's what I have at home all the time. Just going to toss this up. You can see how the colors are coming through. And then I've got these sunflower seeds here. and I'm gonna toss that in. So this isn't like a salad where I'd necessarily like have a big plate full, but as a little side vegetable, it's gonna be really delicious. And the vinegar is gonna help break down the carrots. And we've got something that's colorful and cost effective and uses stuff that we're also roasting in the oven, so we're saving time. So I just thought that would be a nice little thing to do. So let's recap. We've talked about our sharp knives. We've talked about a bunch of cuts. Specifically, we've talked about your basic dice. That's a really, really key cut that we use a lot in the kitchen. And we'll break it down into kind of bigger dice and finer dice. And there's all these little names for it, like you get a brunoise for like a really fine dice. But at the end of the day, just remember dice is a good kind of chunky cut, kind of a cube of varying size. We've talked about the safety of curling our fingers and handling our knife properly, that we're gonna make sure we're always got something to rest my knife against. We've talked about stabilizing our vegetables, making sure that I'm not cutting on a wobbly side, but that I'm always making a cut first and balancing it out. So now I've got the chicken roasted in the oven. I've got this going. My chicken in total is probably going to take about half an hour to 45 minutes. I've got another tool over here that's really important, and these are meat thermometers. So today I'm going to show you a way of checking the temperature that doesn't involve a thermometer. But if you do see one that you can get, these are really handy. We've got this kind of classic one here that has the temperatures of the different meats. Now, these days, we would say that cooking chicken to 190 is actually a pretty high temperature. 165 is our default. If we've cooked a meat to 165, that is a done temperature. So this is just a digital thermometer. It's the same idea. It's just a little faster and more accurate. So very handy tools. So we've got our chicken. We've set a timer for that. We've got our vegetables all ready to go. So yeah, now we're just gonna clean up, and I'll see you back here in a moment, and we'll check this chicken. All right, so my timer just went off. I set a timer for about half an hour, and I checked it. I wasn't quite there, so we came back 15 minutes later, and now I'm gonna check my chicken. I'm pretty sure it's about there. So yeah, we can see the color's nice. It feels really hot to the temperature. You can see the vegetables are all really nicely roasted now. And I'm just gonna check, turning this on, and I'm sticking in the thickest part of the meat here. And yeah, I get a temperature of, now we're up to 170. So that is definitely good. I'm gonna take this out. Notice I've got my trusty towel here. So that is a cook's best friend in the kitchen. I use them for cleaning up, but then I also have dry ones always at the ready that I use just as a, like you would an oven mitt. And I'll actually show you that trick. That's another handy safety tip here. So we're talking about knife, and we're talking about handling hot things. We really want to be careful. So anytime I've got my towel, I'm going to fold it in two. I'm going to fold it one more time. And then that is definitely something that I can pick things up that are hot straight out of the oven, and I'm not going to burn myself. So I think that's really another important thing regarding safety and just being mindful of these things. You know, sometimes kitchens can get a little hectic. Especially you get into professional kitchens and things can get really hectic. I always like to just, if things are, you know, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just take a moment and I just think about, okay, what do I got going on? I got my chicken in my oven, I got my salad done. Do I have anything else to do? No, I'm good. So now we're gonna plate. I've got another pair of tongs here just to make sure that I'm keeping cooked and raw things separate. I'm gonna put some veg on here. And you can see these sprigs of thyme? there's no leaves left on. I'm gonna take one of these, they're actually pretty big, so I'm gonna cut it in half. And I'm using the tongs to stabilize things. Serve this nice thigh bit. And then got my carrot salad in here. Great. So right here, we've got a complete meal that took us very little time, and we got to learn about some knife skills. We got to handle some chicken. We remember our 2 ways of defrosting. This one we did overnight. I've still got the one in the sink. It looks like it's just about ready to go. So, and then just in between, I had enough time that I was able to make this quick carrot salad and practice more knife skills. Yeah, so we've got this really simple meal that we've been able to do with our roasted vegetables, our salad, and our chicken. So we've got a healthy meal that's balanced, and in this, we've had an opportunity to practice different knife skills. We've kept our kitchen clean. We've remembered to keep our towel handy. All really important things about safety. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I've included my email with the recipe this week, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. We also have included this week in the box a pamphlet with some information about the programming we have here at the local. If you want to learn more about cooking outside of this class that you're doing and continue to build your skills, I invite you to come and join us here at the kitchen. We really look forward to seeing you, and have a great time cooking. Talk to you later. Bye.